Hello friends, in this episode we will show you how we replace the clutch kit on a BMW 1 Series, to be more exact on a 118 with a 2-liter diesel engine. The video won't be very detailed and will present only the main steps to follow. The operation is very similar to that for the 3 Series and we decided to do it on a lift for better visibility. I don't want to bore you with unnecessary details, so let's get to work. First, you will need to disconnect the battery terminals and then remove the under trays to access the propeller shaft and the gearbox. For this, you will have to remove many 8mm screws. After you have finished removing all the trims and under trays, you can disconnect the engine ground cable and the one from the starter motor so they don't get in your way later. We also removed the starter motor, but in the end we found it wasn't absolutely necessary, so I won't illustrate that part. However, it is necessary to remove this metal bracket that holds the DPF, which is attached with two E11 screws and two 13mm nuts. Then you will need to remove this heat shield to access the propeller shaft and have enough space to insert extensions to remove the gearbox screws. Next is the removal of the clutch slave cylinder, which is held with two 13mm nuts, one above and one below. I'll show you the two holes right after removal. When disconnecting the propeller shaft, it's important to mark its exact position with a marker. Then you can remove the 18mm screws and nuts and push the propeller shaft with a lever until it comes out. You'll then have to take out 4 screws holding the gear mount and lower the gearbox with a jack to access the rods from the gear shifter. One of the rods is held with 2 bolts equipped with clips. I've shown you the one on the left side. There is another identical one on the right side that we already took out. The shaft from the smaller rod is held with a different type of clip. I couldn't capture exactly how to remove it, but I found a video that will clarify it for you. To avoid losing the clip, you can snap it back onto the rod. Now, right above the gearbox, there is a plug that you will need to disconnect. You just need to lift the clip and pull the plug out. To remove the screws that hold the gearbox at the top, you will need 2 long extensions. The screws that hold the gearbox are E12 and E16, but some of the E16s are longer, so it would be a good idea to make a diagram of each one's location. I will show you where all the screws are located after removing the gearbox. After you remove the screws, you will need to use a lever or a large screwdriver to detach the gearbox. As I mentioned earlier, we removed the starter motor, which is why you can see the flywheel here, but it's not necessary to remove the gearbox. The cable plug that is hanging connects to the left side of the gearbox. I will show you where the 2 connectors of the gearbox are located after we take it down. As promised, here are the holes for all the screws that held the gearbox. The plug on the left side of the gearbox connects here. And here you can see the connector from the top. Inside the gearbox you will need to remove the fork along with the release bearing. And at the top we need to remove the pressure plate and clutch disc held with 6 6mm Allen screws. After removing the 6 screws, use a screwdriver or lever again to remove the pressure plate and clutch disc. The fork and bearing are very easy to remove, being held only with 2 metal clips. Inside you will find a lot of dirt from the clutch disc, so you'll have to do some cleaning. We used a brush and compressed air to remove the bulk and then brake cleaner spray for a thorough cleaning. A quick drying with compressed air, and that was it with the cleaning. The new fork and bearing are very easy to install. As I mentioned, the fork is held only with 2 metal clips. The other end of the fork has to move freely because it will be pressed by the slave cylinder. Before installing the new clutch kit, check that the new parts are identical to the ones removed. Now it's time to install the new pressure plate and disc. It is important to align the center of the clutch disc with the center of the pressure plate. Insert and tighten the pressure plate screws, but not to the final torque yet. Then release the blocker with a 14mm Allen key by rotating it counterclockwise while someone holds the flywheel in place. If the disc does not move, you can loosen the screws holding the pressure plate. After the disc becomes mobile, you can use a centering tool. After centering, you can tighten the screws to a torque of 20 Nm while someone holds the flywheel in place. Now you can reinstall the gearbox. To avoid the propeller shaft and linkage rods getting in the way, it would be ideal to suspend them from a cable before raising the gearbox. A bit of grease on the shaft can help with the installation. It took some small adjustments and turns, but eventually the gearbox aligned correctly. From here, all the steps are in reverse order, so we will quickly go through them. Insert and tighten the gearbox screws. Reconnect the side and top plugs. Install the slave cylinder. Reconnect the linkage arms. Now raise the gearbox and fix the mount. Reconnect the engine ground cable. Install the bracket from the DPF. Install the propeller shaft, keeping in mind the marks made with the marker during disassembly. Reinstall the under tray and other plastic trims and you are done. That's it for this episode, guys. I hope I managed to compress all the important information. If you have any questions or recommendations, you can write to us in the comments section, and if you liked and found the tutorial useful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel or give it a like. It's completely free but means a lot for the channel's growth. Until next time, we wish you all the best and good luck with your work. Goodbye!